welcome to today's May 21st board meeting. Quorum is present. Our next meeting is June 18th. I need a motion to approve the regular minutes of the April 23rd meeting. Robert, second. Darlene, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
I need a motion to approve the annual minutes of the April 23rd annual meeting. Joe?
So moved.
Second. Darlene, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
At this point, I'm going to turn it over to our CEO, Mr. Schultz.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So you all have my report. As far as the pandemic is concerned, we've drawn just a little under $28 million off of our CARES fund. We did not make any drawdown in April, so that $27.8 million was for last fiscal year. As of the writing of this report, we had 5 employees out. That number's down to 4 as of yesterday, which is good news. As you're probably aware, Governor Cuomo has made an announcement following the CDC guidance for masks. We here at Centro decided to, and he also left it up to each company to make their own decision. We decided to leave the masks in place simply because we really have no way to track who has been vaccinated, who hasn't. It's just too difficult with so many people on the property. NIPTA board meeting on April 23rd. We held a regular monthly meeting. We continue to advocate for dedicated funding stream is our message now, and obviously an increase in STOA. Earth Day on April 24th, 19 Central employees volunteered for Earth Day cleanup, organized by the Downtown Committee of Syracuse and Mike Atkins of Helping Hands. Volunteers cleared litter from 3.5 miles of sidewalks around the southern end, so we really operated up around our hub and then this way beyond the headquarters here. The initiative was organized by Central Sustainability Team. Many thanks to Caitlin. She organized it and her team for their hard work in organizing the event. Bus Rapid Transit, or BRT, on May 3rd. I met with the city along with Chris Tuff and Steve Cagle. Syracuse Mayor Ben Walsh was there, Senator May, and their staffs, and representatives from the SMTC. We had a great discussion regarding BRT. Talked about the implementation of BRT and associated costs. We are currently in the process of putting together preliminary estimates on operational costs and capital costs, and we'll be having a follow-up meeting with them. Congressman Katko Infrastructure Roundtable. On Friday, May 7th, I was invited to participate in a roundtable hosted by the congressman. There are several community leaders on the call, and we each discussed the importance of reauthorizing the bill with money earmarked towards BRT. You probably saw in the paper that the congressman asked for $15 million for Centro for BRT. That was approved in committee and is now in front of the full Congress. And then we are also now working with Senator Schumer's office to have a companion bill in the Senate for the same $15 million. I want to give a big thank you to E.J. Moses and Tara Spraker. They got together quickly and got the information to the congressman, and they've also, ahead of deadline, are now ready to submit to the Senate. So that was great work.
And thanks, EJ, on behalf of the board, and thank you, Tara, on behalf of the board. I know you're out there, even though I only see your letters, but I know you're there.
You're welcome.
And as we discussed on the break, we were chatting about the employee shortage. It's hitting everybody, and we're not immune to that. We desperately need drivers. We could put 20 on tomorrow, and still probably not be exactly where we want to be. Mechanics too. So we implemented a referral program. Okay, we didn't implement a referral program that Jackie wants to talk about.
You're taking my stuff.
Jackie, I didn't hear anything that you said.
In about six minutes, we're going to introduce a referral.
Listen, we didn't hear anything that he said, Jackie, so
Okay.
don't worry about it. And if he said it,
She's articulating over there like this. Okay, so I'm done.
Okay. So I think that we should call your vice president, Jackie, to give a report.
I would like to now call on Jackie Masango, our VP of HR, to give her report.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Chairman and board members. I'm just gonna talk a little bit about our recruitment and our recruiting efforts that we've gone through. We have a new bus operator class that just started this Monday. It's only 8 candidates that are going through the training program.
What did it start with the class originally?
What did we start with?
Yeah.
8.
Oh. I
It
was-
started on Monday, so.
Oh, okay, well, I was just,
But there's actually
did you expect,
11.
We
There's
had
actually
it.
11 in there because of the
Yeah,
other
we had a
problem.
potential of like 10, and
Okay, that's what I
then,
mean, yeah.
yeah, we lost a couple due to either background checks or
okay.
other reasons.
Yeah.
So we have 8 candidates.
That's the point that I'm trying to make,
Yes.
is that it's usually more, but as we progress, it gets narrower.
Yes, and unfortunately, even going through the class, it could narrow down too,
Right.
depending on circumstances. So at this point, there are 8 candidates going through our training program. We've expanded, of course, our recruiting efforts, either reaching out to community organizations. We've also reached out to different hiring websites. So we're really trying to expand a little bit, and even Steve Kegel's employees in marketing are doing some advertisement that that's gonna be up and coming, that you're gonna see either down at the hub or on billboards. So we're out there trying. We also have a career fair that we're going to be attending on June 3rd. That is through New York State Department of Labor, and they're partnering with 4 counties. So it's Onondaga, Cayuga, Cortland, and Oswego. And they're gonna focus on job opportunities that are in high demand at this point. So maybe we'll get some referrals from that. And lastly, we did implement a central referral program for our employees. It's gonna be effective June 1st.
Really?
Yes.
When did this happen?
It's the first I heard of that.
Yeah. And if an employee refers a candidate for an open full-time position and the candidate remains employed for 180 days, then that employee will receive a $1,000 bonus. The way that the program is gonna work is it's broken into 2 payments. So the first payment is after 90 days. The employee would receive $500, and then the second payment would be paid after 180 days, as long as the candidate is still here. And that's all my report.
Because, you know, I think we need to change the way we're doing things, because probably the best people to sell it are the people that actually do the jobs.
Yep.
So, I mean, I'll throw it around the room and on the phone, but I fully support that. Robert?
Great.
Absolutely, makes sense.
Joe?
Yeah, we have a very similar thing and have had for years, and in fact, our number's much higher than that to try to get them, because we have the same hiring problems as everybody else does.
What do you think, Tina? Tina?
She's on mute.
Okay.
This is Darlene. I think it's a great idea.
Thanks, Darlene. How's
She speaks for Tina, too.
Okay, great. No, this is good. Do we need any, we don't need, it's just an FYI.
Yeah.
We don't need anything.
No.
No, okay, good, great. I'm looking forward to see how it, you know.
Hopefully
I
it
won't
will
ask
get-
you, I won't ask you for about 12 months.
Okay, I was gonna say, hopefully we'll get some good candidates out
I'll
of
give
it.
you 12 months, you know, if, other people are chairing this board, they probably wanna know next month, not me. You got 12 months.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thanks, great job, Jake.
Thank you.
Mr. Schultz?
Thank you, Brian. Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, members. A few updates I'd like to give, one pertaining to Utica. Mr. Chairman, I know this is a local advantage. On Tuesday, the Lieutenant Governor, Kathy Hochul, awarded the $10 million for the Downtown Revitalization Initiative in Utica, which was the 4th round awarding of $10 million for revitalization projects in Utica. I was tasked a year and a half ago to represent the board in Centro on this committee. It's a very exciting time for Utica to continue improving their economic development above and beyond the hospital, that if you drive down the thruway or see that area, that's really coming together. So that was awarded on Tuesday, which is exciting. we're continuing to work with that team and work with the county. Their next project it also includes some streets and curb improvements, so hopefully along the lines that'll help us as far as bus stops or anything along those areas if we need to. And then secondly, yesterday, to piggyback off of Jackie's report, the driver training class, myself, Brian, and Susanna put together a new training module for the class. We called it, or I called it Transit 101 or Centro 101. It gave a history of how the establishment of Centro came about, and then a little bit of history of as far as our governance from the FTA, the state, a little background into New York State DOT regulations. And really what we were trying to do is educate new operators and operators coming into, the rules and regs that we put into place are not things that we just make up or we sit in a room and come up with. This is really, the reasoning that they have to fill out an accident report a certain way carries through up to, as Susanna talked about earlier, the National Transit Database, the PTSB, which is a division of New York State Department of Transportation for the Public Transit Safety Board. So those areas are similar to reviews. We have reviews by those organizations, as we had the triennial that finished last month, and then we have a biannual on the state DOT side. So we wanted to educate them on that to understand more of what we're doing and why we're doing it, and we're not just throwing crazy ideas out there to make their job inconvenient. It was very well received, and hopefully we can continue to improve on that and continue to do that through refresher trainings and future class trainings. And that is all I have.
Good.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
Steve?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, members. Good morning, council. I think I'll begin today giving a ridership report. That's what we do. Ridership for the city services that we provide for the month of April was down 47%. That's in line with what it had been for February, March. It's a little better.
When you say down, is that comparison for previous months or last year?
Last year.
Okay.
Because our ridership is seasonal, the best way to compare our numbers are comparing April to April, March
Gotcha.
to March,
Okay.
because of changes in educational contracts and whatnot.
The good news is we're way up over last April.
Yeah, the good news is, compared to last April where we were in the middle of the pandemic, we're up 87%. But if you compare the same number overall,
Gotcha.
we're down 62%.
Yeah.
If you take away the educational contracts that we have with SU, BOE, SUNY Oswego, that's where our city
Well,
services fall into that buck 47%.
The other impact could be when people say that are not going back to work, that's impacting us.
Second week in May, normally what we see is as SU comes down in other educational facilities, it's not just the students we lose, but traditionally we lose some of the employees that are using our transportation service to get to and from work. So as we move into mid-May and into June, the percentages are going to look a little better, because we're not going to be comparing them to these large numbers of when we had students riding for both SU, BOE, and as we move into the summer months. So we expect to see some trend back upward. The core ridership is, however, it's still at about 47%, which is greater than being down 50% as we were for much of the winter. So it is moving in the right direction. It is just very, very slow. From a marketing standpoint, as Jackie had mentioned, we're working with human resources a lot, because right now our biggest challenge really is putting people behind the wheel. So we're putting together a billboard campaign, potentially maybe some social media, and some maybe a radio spot, but we tried radio before, it really wasn't very successful. We're also marketing our newer services, the services up along the Northern Boulevard, Malloy Road area. We've sent out a mailer to businesses up there with some information on a flyer on the new route, the availability, and how we can get people to use our mobile app and get scheduled information to those businesses. We really think there's some potential for ridership gains in that corridor as people come back to.
I don't know if you can track it, but are you, from the technology standpoint of the local app, are you seeing over the last few years people moving to
Mobile app usage?
Yeah.
Yes.
Are we able to track it?
Yes, we are. Our mobile app usage, I don't have exact numbers right now, but it ebbs and flows with colleges. When the colleges are up and running, a lot of students download the app, they use it, and then when they leave for school, they will remove the app from their phones. But the general population is using it more. We see that in the fact that the number of calls coming to our call center has consistently kind of dropped over time because people are using the mobile
They're
app.
self-managing themselves.
Yeah, they are, yep, that is
That's
correct.
good.
And we've been approached by Onondaga County and New York State to operate for them to operate a pop-up vaccine clinic at our hub. That will occur next Wednesday from 9 to noon. We're meeting with the county this afternoon at 1 o'clock to establish some logistics. Anybody who comes and gets vaccinated, it's a J&J one-shot vaccine. Anybody who comes to get vaccinated, they'll receive a voucher. They can take that voucher, walk over to our transit hub window, and they can get a 7-day pass.
I'd be curious to see how that goes, and if it is worth it to do anything at maybe the other properties or Utica, for example.
I think there has been some discussion about doing something in Oneida
There has
County.
been, they've got other pop-up sites or other operating sites they're doing that we offer service to. They're really targeting transit hubs, just because of the ridership, and their data is showing them that it's the lower income people that are not, running out to get the vaccine, so they're trying to incentivize them a little bit.
Yeah, the vaccine hesitancy amongst that population tends to be a little stronger, so.
Because you know what, I think what you're foreseeing in the future is probably masks for a while on public transportation. I mean,
Right now it's through September 13th.
Yeah.
okay,
Yep.
that's a while.
That's the federal
Yeah.
mandate was extended.
So they group us in with like airplanes and all that, correct?
Correct.
They do, not just the buses, but the transit facilities as well.
You know what's amazing to me, like when you think about air travel, that when prior to boarding a plane, you're 6 feet apart. Then they get into the plane, you're in a sardine can. I just never understood, we're gonna watch you here and then we're gonna pack you in there, so I guess somebody's figured that out.
Any questions for me?
I think that's interesting, that's good.
Thank you.
Paul.
Thanks, Steve. Jeff?
Good morning, Chairman. Good morning, everybody. With the recent hack on the pipeline, it brought some concerns to mind. Are we gonna be affected? How is it gonna affect us? Is it gonna, our service get affected? So, and it also brought to mind, the shortage of toilet paper from last year. People are going out, you see in the news that they're going out and filling up their stuff. So I reached out to our contractor, Moravito. Kevin Lee had said that at this time, there's no anticipated shortages or outages. Upstate New York area was not affected by the Colonial Pipeline. However, he did state that panic buying does cause problems. So we'll keep you updated if we hear anything. Now, the information for the board is we've got 2 contracts for Moravito and Direct Energy. Moravito is our diesel fuel and our gasoline. We are locked in for diesel until March of 2022. And we do this every year. We check and make sure we get the usages and order them up on a yearly basis. And our natural gas is locked in until 2024.
What's that rate at?
What's that?
What's natural gas? Do you know?
Natural gas is for our natural gas buses.
Oh, no, but I mean, what's the rate?
The rate is $2.24, I think, which
Okay.
is a decatherm for a gallon equivalent.
And you're
It's
out
about 30 cents.
You're out about 2 years with that?
Yeah.
Okay, I do the same thing with the future.
So we are locked in, so we're secure to make
Good.
sure that, buses get paid. Now, I don't wanna beat a dead horse, but we are looking for mechanics. And I'll leave it at that. And
You're not
our
getting upset.
our maintenance staff is.
Is it okay that he talked about that?
Yeah.
No,
Okay.
well, I already said what I had to say.
Jackie, from now on, you go first all the time, okay? Before Brian.
And then lastly is we are getting prepared for the fair, so we're bringing all the buses in, getting them prepared for whatever the fair might be. And that's all I got for today.
Maybe Joe and Brian can jump into this conversation about the fair. What is the intel that you're getting right now about how they're gonna open up the fair? Is there any intel, or are we just waiting
Well-
for guidance?
There's very little at the moment. We have a couple meetings in the next 2 weeks. We have one on the 27th of May, and then there's one June 2nd. That hopefully we're gonna get some information on. It is likely that our normal service will be cut in some fashion, okay? We're gonna be down certain park and rides.
What's the
we're-
most people we ever move? Do you guys have a number
On a
about?
day?
For the entire, yeah, a day, let's say a
Oh,
day. About.
I mean, this will be well, now we're gonna get into my reports, we'll do that now.
You guys have trained me well over these years, I understand this business.
Traditionally, it's a 13-day fair. The governor has made a decision to go to an 18-day fair in 2021. So it's hard to say where it's really gonna play out. A 13-day fair, we're moving 650,000 people over 13 days.
Wow.
What 18 days is gonna do, what it's gonna matter to, how open he can make this, or he's gonna try to make it. As of today, there is no buildings that are gonna be open. That could very well change in a month. It could change in a week, it could change August 1st. He is gonna want that as wide open as humanly possible, but right now, it's got some holds on it. We're hoping to gain some info, next week in particular, and the week after, so.
What about the venue with concerts and all that? Anything, do you hear about that? Is that
The
okay?
amphitheater is supposedly going to open sometime in July. I
July
don't know the
7th is the
percentage
first
of
scheduled
open.
one right now.
We
Cause you
haven't-
guys play an active role with that, we play an active role with that too.
Yeah, we used to, I mean, we don't do as much anymore. We still run a downtown shuttle, we haven't been requested to do that yet. We're still waiting on some guidance from them as to how they wanna handle their summer. They're really going into fall, they actually have concerts in October. So apparently, snow shoveling's not gonna be an option there, but, so we're really not sure. The fair itself, likely we're gonna operate on ground, on property, which is the orange lot, which we traditionally do. The Willis Ave lot, which is a new lot they built 2 years ago, and now they've expanded that. And then likely Destiny, which is on the east side of town, called the east side barely, but on the east side. And then Long Branch Park, which is on the west side. So those, if I had to guess, would be where we're gonna fall, not 100%, I wanna sit here and tell you that's the only thing we're gonna do, but likely those are the locations we're gonna operate. Again, we have a manpower issue, which we've talked about, for obviously all morning, so, that could play some effect. SU's gonna go back in full service in August, that's gonna have some effect on us. So for us to over-promise is not gonna be a
When you
good
say
position for
full,
us.
as far as football games, et cetera?
Well, football, the campus itself, they have a full, their plan is to be fully operational, come fall. Full students on campus, the remote thing's probably gonna end for them for the most part. So that means we're gonna be on a full-service basis with the contract we have with them, so. So we have a lot of obligations, and we have to be careful that we don't overpromise and underdeliver, so we have to really be careful with that.
And fortunately, the first SU home game doesn't fall until after the fair.
Yeah.
There's been years where they did it on a Friday night, so you got Friday night fair, you got Friday night,
Especially
SU
with staff,
service, and
yeah.
then you got your regular service out there.
So, in what capacity we're gonna carry people, who knows? Because again, as you brought up the airplane thing, are people gonna be concerned about being in a 40-foot bus with 60 other people? Right now, the FTA has the guidance out that you're gonna wear a mask on a public transit until September 13th, which is beyond the fair. But if the fair goes to no mask, I still have to wear a mask to get there. So that'll be a battle. So there's a lot of open questions that we really won't have answers to. As we get them, we'll obviously update the board and provide that info. So hopefully by June meeting, if not the latest July meeting, we'll pretty much know what we can expect to be doing for the
Being
fair.
short with drivers, how has drivers, how have they been with overtime as far as willing to work more, or has that been getting?
Depends on the operator.
It's operator
general
dependent.
comment.
Again, as you lose operators to retirements, and in particular to retirements, which means they've been here a long time, 25, 30, 35 years, that workforce always worked, okay? The newer workforce, and again, it's not to blame anyone, but if I do my 5 days and go home, I'm still a good employee, right? I would do my 42, 43 hours and I go home. They're not doing the 50 and 60. So every senior operator we lose, basically we have to hire a person and a half. So now you're messing with the budgets and adding things to, instead of having 180 operators to fully function,
You
We're
know,
gonna probably need 188, 189, maybe 190.
one of the operators that we acknowledged last month or the month before, how they came back to work after they retired. Are you seeing that with some of the operators?
A lot of them do come back. They will come back in a part-time status. I've gotten, there's some of our better employees still, from an hourly basis. I won't just, they work.
Yeah.
They're workers. They're accustomed to working. We have one gentleman that's, putting in all the hours he can put in. He's gotta be 76 years old.
Good for him.
And I've got 25-year-olds that, can't wait till the shift is over.
Right.
And again, there's nothing wrong with it.
It's the work
They
ethic.
come to,
It's the work ethic,
It's a
yeah.
work ethic partly, but part of it is, they make the money they need to make, and they can cover their expenses, and they're happy, There's not a lot, that's where the idea that, Chris brought up earlier about, educating our new people, not only on the history of the company, but on our protocols, but also on the financial piece, which Brian is obviously very good at, in saying, hey, if you put away 5%, put away your raises, put away your increases, we match all that up to 5%.
Aren't we,
Look what you're gonna have when you retire,
aren't we competitive, say for people that wanna drive maybe in different venues in this region? Would you say we're low, we're about the same, or do we lead the market from a salary and benefit package? I'm just curious, because you gotta take them from somewhere, some of these folks. Or are they leaving us to go somewhere else? That are still driving in some capacity, maybe not a bus.
I think it depends. If you look at just bus operating, we're very competitive. If you look at any kind of driving, like over-the-road truck, truck delivery, stuff like that, you can make more money. I mean, if you're willing to be away a couple nights a week and, drive a rig, you're gonna make $85,000, $90,000 a year.
So,
Our packages are really good.
so if you say, I think the starting pay for a bus driver is around 51, 52, somewhere in that range?
Yeah.
Okay.
2560.
So, here's the next question. What would be the average amount of overtime that, say, the authority gives to a bus driver? Is what they work at. Is it 10,000? Is it 8,000? Is it 4?
Again, it's operator dependent. Again, the problem with our business is, and this has been lifelong, transit, as far as you wanna go backwards, is we can't fail, okay? There's no, the goal of our service day is 100%. That's not a goal, it's an expectation, okay? We can't be 98% efficient, which means we miss 2% of our service every day. So overtime is a necessary evil. So whether I show up for work today or not, is in my role, my work just piles higher and I just come back tomorrow.
But that
okay?
route's gonna run no
But
matter
if the
what.
driver doesn't come, someone has to drive that bus. So
Okay.
you're paying for the, what we call the extra list or spare board operators, to be here to cover for vacations and floaters and all these things. And then on top of that, once you run out of those people, then we gotta go to the regular driver who say, who gets off at 4 o'clock, hey, can you stay till 7?
Oh, okay.
Well, that's all overtime to him, okay? It adds to our expense, but we build for that.
Right.
So there's no way to guesstimate what an operator can make. It's really controlled now by rules and regs. You can only work so many hours a week versus how many days a week. I think it's, 75 hours over 6 days.
Yeah.
You gotta have 24 hours off. So if you work 70 hours a week at $25 an hour for 52 weeks, it's about 80 grand. It's not chump change.
No, not at all. It's
And our benefit package is great. Retirement,
medical.
healthcare, vacation schedules, I mean, it's very competitive.
One of the challenges we're having though is net gain, so Jackie talks about having a class of 11 down there, 7 I think are for this property. But then last week we lost 3. We had 2 people move out of the area and another one found a different job. So it's, you don't have 7 in there, you got 4.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, right now, we're down, to our formula, we're down 15 operators. The reality is we're probably down about 25, when you take into consideration what sickness and other things that go on here, and we're probably down.
Then you vacation time. all
Yeah,
that.
there's, you know, and again, the people that are working are entitled to their time off, you gotta let them have it.
Yeah.
So, cause there are a lot of good employees downstairs, so I don't want this to come across as, you know.
Oh, no.
It's really not them, it's what's out there is not wanting, for whatever reason, and we can, you know, it's easy to blame the unemployment, extra pay and all the other things, and it has a lot to do with it.
We had problems with mechanics prior to the pandemic.
Yes, absolutely. These are jobs that people are staying away from going forward, you know. Amazon's gonna see the same, they have to hire 1,000 people in the next 6 months. I don't know where they're coming from.
Oh, out here?
Yeah.
At the facility out in
Yeah.
Syracuse.
You know, Lowe's locally had to hire 400 people. I don't know if they got 400 people. So, and they're paying way less than we're paying.
We can't get people at $24 an hour. I don't see how Amazon's gonna do it at 15.
Well, you know what they do, they just take from other people. I mean, Tractor Supply put a distribution center up in Herkimer. What they do, they came to the college, they said, we'll pay you this much more. Now they took my guy from the college.
Yeah.
Right, so it's gonna be this type of fight and competition constantly. And, you know, so making more money though sometimes is not everything when you look at the whole package and the culture.
You're
Culture
correct,
has a lot to
and
do
that's a
with it.
big thing, and that's why a lot of operators, people who drive for a living, would rather drive for us than drive over the road, because I get to see my family every day. Yes, it's a long day what we do here, but you can still make your kids' games and do things and, you know, partake in your family versus, you know, being gone Monday to Thursday and then home for 2 days and then on the road again, so, you know, there's a lot of advantages to being here, it's just, I guess, you know, as Steve mentioned and Jackie mentioned, we're just looking at other avenues in which to promote the company outside of, you know, the internal side of it. You know, we are a viable company, we serve the community, you know, we know all that, we've gotta get the community to understand that a little better, I guess.
Excellent, good report.
Is it all? Did you bring your report or you got?
Oh, I can finish.
Yeah,
I can digress back
Yeah,
into my
finish,
report.
we'll
if
change
you
the
want.
agenda.
And the final item, just for the board's information, we have finally settled a tentative agreement with ATU 580. That collective bargaining agreement represents Oswego County, Cayuga County, and here in Onondaga County. Unfortunately, the vote for that TA, tentative agreement, will not happen until June 14th. So likely, we will not have any information to the board prior to the board package going out. So hopefully on the next meeting, which is a week early because of all the stuff you have to do.
So send me an email if it's something.
Yeah, Brian will absolutely reach out to the board, at least in an email format, to say, hey, it passed or it didn't. Hopefully it passes. At that point, we'll bring some real information about the contract, because obviously we're gonna require the board to ratify it as well. So we'll bring the details of that contract to you, so if there are any questions or
And
concerns.
this is a 3-year contract?
3 years. Just to give you a heads up, it averages about 2.35% on an overall growth rate to the budget. We believe it's a fair enough and good contract for both sides. It represents us getting some productivity gains on some healthcare and some other things that we needed. But further, it also helps you know, provide a wage to our employees, as well as some long-term goal things that were included in the retirement package for the people that are now in the 401 plans. Some longevity goal things that help retain employees, and that's what we shot for, is how do we retain the people that we have, so. Again, assuming it passes, and hopefully it will, we'll bring the detail to the next board meeting.
Very good.
Thanks, Jeremy. Mike?
Good morning, Eric.
And Michael?
No, I'm gonna be a little quicker, I think. So these are just, 3 main topics. Cybersecurity, we've been dealing with all different kinds of different things. This time of year tends to be very active in cybersecurity, in that kids are getting out or something, there's a lot of things coming in. Just to give you an indication, since the beginning of May, we have blocked 18,000 plus phishing emails that have been coming in. So it's can be very distracting, a lot of different things. On the cybersecurity, we're also doing multi-factor authentication. I talked a little bit about that last month. We're about 70% implemented with that, and with the Sophos implementation, we're about 90% implemented for that. So that's looking pretty good. It looks like we're doing well with that. On the maintenance connection program application that we're installing, we've made some progress, not as much as I would like to have at this point in time, but we are still making some good progress in that process. The application itself is, I would say, multifaceted with a lot of different things that are going into it. Jim Anderson with procurement yesterday got permissions in place, and they're looking at some of that process to get that aspect working. It looks like it's going to go pretty well. Looking still to go live with that until August 1st, and maybe even have one of their technicians come here for a couple of days to help move that project along even faster. And then finally on the trapeze, we're implementing a program in trapeze, a module that we have, but they're helping us to develop the module. The module is going to be tracking disciplinary process, accident incidents type of things, and tie into the disciplinary process. And they're very forthright with what they're doing. It's very impressive with what they're doing. Their project management is very on top of everything. And they might even go a little bit above with what we're expecting. That's how they're tying that into the discipline side of things. That's about a 6-week design process, and we're about in week 3 at this point. So that should, I would think, go live sometime mid-July.
From a fishing, do you ever internally just send it out there and just see who bites?
Chris is laughing with it. We have an organization called KnowBefore, which we do set up occasionally, about once a quarter or twice a year at least, as well as doing some training with that perspective. And yes, I do get reports on who clicked on what. Sometimes it's entertainment, sometimes it's a gift card from Amazon or something like that. And sometimes it's even a note from HR, not really, but it looks like it's a note from HR. So it can be deceiving, yes.
Okay.
So we do test.
Okay. Thanks, Mike. And with that, we're done.
Good report from all the department heads, very good. Okay, we're gonna head right into Audit and Finance Committee report. This was all discussed in detail in committee, so we're gonna move through this. Linda gave a great report on our financial statements, and I'm pleased to say that the authority has managed their fiscal finances quite well right now, especially in a very odd year. With that being said, the committee made a motion to bring it to the full board for approval. At this point, I need a motion to accept the financial statements. Okay, Robert, second. Joe, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Caitlin came forward basically to, I want to say, update the procurement manual that was probably last dealt with about 18 years ago. So it makes a lot of sense from an efficiency standpoint and to come into 2021. With that being said, report is presented, and a motion was made to bring it to the full board for approval. At this point, I need a motion. Robert, second.
Darlene?
Thank you, Darlene. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
We had 3 resolutions. Caitlin brought them all forward. Resolution 1 was to approve the Auburn and Oswego paving contract. This contract will be awarded to Paul F. Vitale Incorporated for the paving. Motion was made to bring it to the full board. I need a motion.
So moved.
Okay, thank you, Darlene. Second, Joe. All in favor? Aye. Resolution.
Aye.
Resolution 2 was to approve the gasoline bulk delivery contract. Would be awarded to Marabito. I gotta get that right. Motion was made to enter into a 5-year term commencing on June 1st. Motion was made to bring it to the full board. At this point, I need a motion. Robert, second.
Darlene?
Darlene, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Final resolution was electrical services. Caitlin brought forward, went out, low bid. For this was Patricia Electric for a 5-year term at an hourly rate of $96 an hour. At this point, we need a motion to accept this and move this forward. Motion?
So
Joe's-
moved.
Joe, second Darlene, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, with that being said, that concludes our Audit and Finance Committee report. Joe, you spent too much time, so we're gonna just
Move on.
move on, okay?
I'll let it slide.
Darlene, do you wanna just, few comments on the governance committee today that Susanna did a very good job?
She did. We met earlier this morning, and Susanna did do a very good job. She presented the internal control program report, including continuing education with the April issue of the Watchdog. An update of the strategic plan was released in the comprehensive annual report, also in April. And Susanna also reviewed the authority's measurement report for the fiscal year ending March 31st, 2021. No action was taken. That concludes my government committee report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Darlene, thank you, Susanna, good job. That, once again, no action will be taken. Is there any old business,
No, Mr. Chairman.
future business? Okay, at this point, I want to call for a executive session on a personnel-related meeting. I would like council to stay in the room. I would like Brian to stay in the room. And I need a motion to go into executive session. Robert, second. And also I want to.
Second.
When we come out, there'll be no other business, but I just want to say something on behalf of the board. It's great to see physically people back here. So,
A 3D meeting.
we missed you. Yeah, we missed you. So the chairs, little by little, are being unstacked. Okay, very good. Well, have a good weekend, guys. Thank you. Carol, can you come in Brian's office? I'm gonna have you go in the office over here.